Alright, YouTube, how's it going? Finally got another travel video made up for y'all. We went to South Dakota. Went to Badlands National Park and Custer State Park.
It's too damn early, isn't it, Aggie?
Are you ready for your long bye-bye, Aggie?
Bye-bye!
Along the way, we did our customary stop at a park so Aggie could get her wiggles out. I think we stopped in Sioux City, I think is where this park was at. After the park, we finally made it into South Dakota proper, and we stopped at a rest stop to rest. We got back on the road and made our way to Sioux Falls, which was the first kind of big stop that people said you have to go to when you're on your way to South Dakota. Goodness, there's a lot of driving in this video, but hey, that's what you sign up for when you go on a road trip from Kansas to anywhere. We finally arrived at our cabin, and Stephanie and Aggie were extremely pleased to be out of the car. Once we got our bags unloaded, we headed out into the town of Wall to find some dinner. Turns out the only fast food place in the entire town was Dairy Queen. We chose to stay at the Badlands Frontier Cabins because they had a little play place. We figured Aggie would really appreciate that, and she did. Once Aggie and Stephanie were settled, I headed out to the Badlands National Park to visit the Big Badlands Overlook for sunset. Once I was happy with my sunset photos, or at least, felt like I was. You don't really know what you got looking at the back of the camera. I headed back into the town and got some gas. What's a photography road trip without a gas station photo? The next morning was another early one because we all wanted to get up and go to Big Badlands Overlook to watch the sunrise.
Daylight on the horizon, shining back at me, makes me think of my baby coming home to me. Down the riverside flowing, knowing she's still there. I can't see where she's going, but I hope it's near. Life ain't what it seems. There's still a part of me that's trying.
Once the sun had risen and we felt like it was time to move along with the day, we headed on to the window and door trails, just a little ways down the road in Badlands National Park.
You can find a little rest from hiding. Don't let this go. Don't let it fall away. Don't worry, we'll take it slow. Just don't let go. Don't let go. Daydreams falling like raindrops on the sky. Making plans, all I ever had dreamt of, falling through my hands. Life ain't what it seems. There's still a part of me that's fighting.
So throughout the footage from this first day, you're going to see Stephanie with her Nikon FM2, but you're not going to see any photos from it until day 2, and we'll get into that later.
Rest from hiding. Don't let this go. Don't let it fall away. Don't worry, we'll take it slow. Just don't let go. Don't let go. Don't let this go. Don't let it fall away. Don't worry.
The views in Badlands National Park are certainly beautiful. I wouldn't necessarily say breathtaking, but they're definitely worth getting out there and taking some pictures of, especially if you love landscape photography. It felt a little bit like, that scene in the beginning of Alien where they're on LV-426? It felt very like that. Once we'd finished with the window and door trails, we hopped back in the car and headed on down the road to the Cliff Shelf Nature Trail. It was on this trail that Stephanie realized her camera had not been advancing her film the entire time. She shot a whole roll of nothing. But that happens to everybody. It's got to happen at some point, you know? You either shoot and it doesn't advance, or you open the film back and you expose your film. I've done that so many times. It's not even funny. I've ruined so many rolls of film. Needless to say, that took the wind out of her sails for a little bit, and she didn't really pick her camera back up until the next day.
Yawning back there. You can't yawn. It's only 8 o'clock.
Once we'd all recovered from the devastating news that Stephanie's camera wasn't advancing her film, we all hopped back in the car, and a lot of driving on these trips. There's a lot of going from point to point, you know. Anyway, we headed on down to Cedar Pass Lodge and got some breakfast. Right down the road from Cedar Pass Lodge is the visitor center, so we decided we were gonna go on and visit the visitor center.
Is there a specific picture of the visitor? I've never taken a picture.
Wow. Meat eater or vegetarian?
From the visitor center, we headed on down the road to the fossil exhibit trail. This turned out to be Aggie's favorite trail. Once Aggie was done on the fossil exhibit trail, we all hopped back in the car and just visited the various overlooks on the Badlands Loop Road. There's quite a few of them. Some of them are better than others, but they're all sort of worth stopping at. As we were on our way to the last overlook we were going to stop at, we came across some prairie dogs. So of course I had to stop and hop out and grab some shots. We stopped at our final overlook for the day. Pinnacles, I think it was. As we were exiting the park, Stephanie and I started to joke about how we didn't see any buffalo. And lo and behold, there were some buffalo. By now it was lunchtime, so we decided to head into the town of Wall and grab some lunch at the Wall drugstore. This place was as tourist trappy as you could possibly get, but you know what? They had free ice water and nickel coffee. Didn't try the nickel coffee, didn't have a nickel. But I've heard other people say it's what you get for a nickel. Following lunch, we headed back to the cabin and everybody passed the fuck out. Exhausted. Once we all woke up and got recombobulated, we headed out to, I forget what the name of this place was, but they're practically domesticated prairie dogs. You pay $1 and you get a bag of peanuts, and then you can feed the prairie dogs peanuts. Needless to say, Aggie and Stephanie adored this part of the trip. And I got some pretty cool pictures because the prairie dogs will just run right up to you, not afraid of you at all. The prairie dogs were the last activity of the day for Stephanie and Aggie since it was getting pretty late at that point. So we headed back to the room, those two got settled, we had dinner, and I headed off to the Pinnacles Overlook to attempt shooting sunset. As I was watching the sunset at Pinnacles, I realized that it wasn't quite going to develop the way I wanted it to, so I decided to go off script and head on down the road and see what I could find. As I was driving down the road, I noticed this a sheep, I think it's a sheep, hanging out on this ridge, and I immediately hopped out of the car and I grabbed a Polaroid. Of course, the second I took a picture with the Polaroid, another one wandered into the frame. I grabbed that one with the Leica. Little ways down from the sheep, I saw a little trail that went off into the unknown. I figured, hey, why not follow that for a little bit? So I hopped out of the car, ran over to the trail, followed it a little ways, and it paid off, in my opinion. It led to this little overlook that had the road over here and then the Badlands over here, and wound up doing a long exposure photo and catching some light trails from a car. Whew. Day 3 was yet another up at the crack of dawn, up before the crack of dawn day, because I decided, in all my wisdom, I needed to see Mount Rushmore at dawn. So, up at 4 a.m. we were again. Anyway, it wound up paying off, I think. These shots of Mount Rushmore are some of my favorite from the whole trip. I have wanted to go to Mount Rushmore since I was a kid, and I just never realized it was only a 11 or 12 hour drive. Because the Badlands National Park is about 11, and then the Black Hills are another hour or two or so. So yeah, I just never knew it was so close, relatively speaking.
felt a kind of love like this before. You took all the worries from my mind. Darling, please forgive me if I stay a little more. I can't look away from those brown eyes. And if we settle down, we don't have to settle down. Please don't be afraid of all the things that could go wrong. We can take our time and we may change our mind. But I can tell a good thing when a good thing comes along. Darling, tell me all about the dreams you had last night. You can be so restless in your sleep. I ain't going nowhere, all this feels so very
This was
right.
probably the roughest part of the trip because we got to Mount Rushmore early enough to see the sunrise over it and it get that nice golden hour morning light. Problem is, that happened at like 5:30, 6 in the morning, 6:30 in the morning, give or take, in that window. Nothing at Mount Rushmore actually opens until 8 a.m. So, we took some pictures of Mount Rushmore and dawn. We did that presidential loop trail. I think we did it twice, waiting for stuff to open. Aggie had some things to say about being stuck there for that long, but you know, she got a t-shirt out of it, some little binoculars. Yeah. It was at this time of waiting that I was asked to return to the car and grab some things, one of them being her carrier. I got distracted by a vending machine and I forgot to grab the carrier. I went to the car, grabbed some snacks, Pop-Tarts, stuff like that for breakfast. And then I forgot the thing I actually went to the car for.
Settle down. We don't have to settle down. Please don't be afraid of all the things that could go wrong. We could take our time, and we may change our mind. But I can tell a good thing when a good thing comes along.
Hopped back in the car and made our way to Custer State Park. We started our time in Custer State Park on the Needles Highway. That was very cool. The Needles Highway is very cool. If you go to South Dakota, you got to go to Custer State Park. Very, very cool place. Towards the end of the Needles Highway, we pulled off on an overlook that had a view of the cathedral spires. And we hung out there for a few minutes, stretched our legs, and took some photos, of course.
Hey, Aggie. Climbing rocks.
Oh boy.
Careful. Careful.
we stopped at the Sylvan Lake shop area and we grabbed some lunch. We had pizza. It was surprisingly good. Once we finished with our lunch, we hopped on the Sylvan Lake Shore Trail. Really, really cool trail. If you're in the area, that's one of the things you got to do. It's so nice. It was a very wonderful trail. Having had our fill of the outdoors for the day, we headed back to the cabin. Well, actually, we headed out to find dinner. We were gonna try to get some frozen food from the local food center. However, that didn't really pan out, and so we wound up getting some Dairy Queen yet again. More cheeseburgers. While we had dinner, we watched Adam Sandler's Pixel movie. I hadn't seen it before. It was an interesting flick. But as the night wore on, I realized that there would not be a sunset tonight. It was going to be quite cloudy. So I decided to not head out that night and stayed in the room with Stephanie and Aggie and wound up playing cards. For day 4 of our trip, we headed back into Custer State Park. We planned on driving Wildlife Loop Road, but first we headed to the Visitor Center for a brief stop. we turned onto Wildlife Loop Road, the fog was quite dense, and it turned out to be a very cool experience with the thick fog and the buffalo.
Show me a picture. That's right.
As the buffalo disappeared into the fog, we figured it was time to move on from the Wildlife Loop Road. We decided we wanted to return to Sylvan Lake because we enjoyed it so much. However, we didn't quite make it to Sylvan Lake because I saw something that I wanted to photograph over another lake. Turned out to be well worth the stop. Decided to get my tripod out, put my filters on my camera, and do some long exposures of the lake. I really wanted to capture the moodiness of the fog over the water, and I think I accomplished that. Once I was done taking pictures at that lake, we hopped back in the car and decided what to do next. We pulled up the Maps app and found out that Wind Cave National Park was only about a 30-minute drive, so off we went. I didn't take very many photos here, and we decided it was probably best not to take Aggie down into the cave. So these are really just some visitor center pictures, and you know, it still counts, right? was finally lunchtime, so we decided to find some food. We actually found a place that had something other than cheeseburgers on the menu, but it was pretty much only cheeseburgers or salads. So Stephanie finally got a salad, and I had yet another buffalo burger. With lunch taken care of, we headed back to the cabins and rested for a few hours. I felt like this sunset was going to be a good one, so I loaded my gear up and hopped in the car to go back to, yet again, Big Badlands Overlook. I think this was the second or third, it was the third time I'd been there, because I went there sunset the day we got there, and then Stephanie, Aggie, and I went there morning of the first full day we had in South Dakota, and now I'm back again for my third time. Once it started getting real dark and the light was just completely gone, I hopped back in the car and headed back to the room. The next morning would be our trip home. The morning came and we hopped in the car and we left our cabins and we headed on back the way we came. This time, however, instead of stopping at Sioux Falls, we decided to stop in Mitchell, South Dakota to view the Corn Palace. It wasn't really what I expected it to be. I thought it would be a little bit more corn themed, you know, I thought maybe you could get some more corn related stuff. But it was really just kind of a touristy spot. The corn on the cob artwork was pretty cool. And so our time at the Corn Palace ends, and so too does our time in South Dakota. We hopped back in the car and motored our way back to Kansas. Alright, well that's it for that video. I really hope you guys enjoyed watching. I hope you enjoyed the photography. Let me know if you guys plan on going to South Dakota in the future, because I know that Stephanie and I are planning on going back. And I think Aggie enjoyed it too. I think her favorite part was probably the prairie dogs. I think that was Stephanie's favorite part too. My favorite part was probably, it's a tie between Sylvan Lake and the buffaloes in the fog. That was magical. Yeah. Alright, well, anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. That helps us make more of these. You know, you've heard this spiel from every YouTuber on the internet at this point. Yeah, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.